is Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. It is a day to commemorate and honor the 1.5 million Armenians killed by the Ottoman Empire in a series of massacres and starvation campaigns in 1915. And we're joined now live by Archbishop Hovnan Derderian from the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church. Thank you so much for being here on this important day.
Thank you.
We really appreciate having you. So why is it important to commemorate this day?
Commemoration is very educational, not only for our children of the Armenian nation, but also for the children of the family of the world. When we commemorate the saints of the first genocide of the 20th century, we give a message to the world that genocide should never, ever repeat. God has graced us with the gift of life, and that gift of life should be lived thoroughly, wisely, intelligently. 1.5 million Armenians have gone through the genocide, the deportations, and I myself am the great-grandchild of a martyr of the first genocide of the 20th century. I feel in the depth of my heart that pain, yet I have never ever lost the resilience to create, to continue my God-given life, and give the message of peace, not only to the children of my nation, but also to all people. Therefore, commemoration in the life of our community is very important. It brings our people together to celebrate the new life, to remember the martyrs of the first genocide of the 20th century, but also to celebrate the rebirth of our nation here in North America, and globally, April 24th is celebrated. When you look at the news in Australia, the news in the Middle East, the news in Europe, the news in North America, Latin America, in every community today, first genocide of the 20th century is commemorated. But then we also celebrate the saints of the first genocide.
You know, you are a spiritual leader. You provide guidance to a lot of people. One of the tenets of your religion is forgiveness. How do you find forgiveness after something like this?
Forgiveness and forgetfulness are very different things. We cannot forget and hide the truth of history. The truth of history has to be shared and should be shared with all generations. Forgiveness will only come when history and people and the world acknowledges and recognizes the genocide which has taken place back in 1915 in the life of our nation. So we need to be very careful when we speak about forgiveness. That has to be taken into consideration in the context of not forgetting the history and the truth of the history.
And of course, the largest diaspora of Armenians here in Southern California, a lot of cultural contributions and a lot of emphasis on keeping your culture, retaining your culture, learning about the history, while at the same time being a part of our society and contributing to it here. And there are so many people who can kind of relate to that, who also feel a collective generational pain.
Certainly. Living here in North America, we're given also the chance not only to be the good citizens of the United States of America, but also a country which has welcomed the survivors and the orphans of the first genocide of the 20th century. For us to be dedicated Armenians to our culture, our Christian faith, we need also to be dedicated citizens of the United States of America. Armenians who have come to this country since 1860s, and then 1898, when we have formally and officially have established the Armenian Church and the community in North America, we then started to flourish, to grow as a community, but fully integrated in the life of this society, contributing to this society.
So what are some of the events today going on to commemorate the
There are
genocide?
multiple events in almost every single community, Greater Los Angeles, in the West Coast, in the East Coast. There are events taking place at the universities, events taking place, in churches, events taking place at sites where we have monuments dedicated to the Armenian genocide. And there are schedules which have been distributed, to the members of the community so that they can participate, be there, be united to commemorate the saints of the Armenian genocide and have that moment, the spiritual rebirth in the depth of their lives, which is very, very important for us because that puts us into a new journey.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.